That's a real muzzle flash?
It's a real muzzle flash. Roughly the size of the gun. Everybody's like, no way, that's too big. It's like, no, it's not.
Because that gives us 4 days. I think we can finish all of this. Between the three of us, we can finish all this in 4 days.
Okay, cool. Well, if that's the case, let's just talk a little bit about the look of the muzzle flashes and blood hits and all that kind of stuff.
Am I right, ladies?
When we were looking at that clip from Eric Andre's show, you know, when they had the blood hits, they basically had an effect on like the person's shirt where like it would bulge it up, you know, because that's the squib kind of going off, you know, and then eventually that would burst, so you kind of get the actual like bullet hit effect, you know, all kind of red and gooey in there. And then after it burst, you kind of have the like a splat, you know, of blood that didn't go out very far, like, you know, basically like something you get from the detonation films, hemoglobin. And then on top of that, you get like a mist spray that would go out really far or really fast. Looking at the timing of our bullet hits, not the knife hits of course, but like the actual bullet hits, we want to make sure that the timing and the distance traveled matches the, you saw in the Eric Andre clip.
Yeah.
Doing a frame by frame, like seeing in one frame, smoke shoots out roughly 3 feet, you know, or 2 feet or something like that. We want to make sure that the speed of our mist hits, I mean you have it pulled up right there, which is awesome. We want to make sure that the speed and the scale that we have matches what's in there, because then we'll know if the motion's realistic.
Yeah.
Now in regards to the muzzle flashes, there's a good rule of thumb that Sam and I have always followed, which is basically to say the size of your muzzle flash is roughly 2/3 the size of your gun. When it's like pistol, it's roughly the size of your pistol. But like if somebody has like a big assault rifle, it's basically the distance from where the bullet sits in the gun to where it exits the gun is roughly the size of what your muzzle flash should be coming out of the gun. Take note that that first frame with the muzzle flash, there is no smoke because the muzzle flash is the smoke. You know, the muzzle flash is just the gases that are still hot and glowing, you know, in plasma state basically. Yeah. So you won't have any smoke when you have a muzzle flash on the frame. And in the next frame, once there's no more muzzle flash, you have to imagine that this gas is expanded even further and it basically travels out in the next frame to be twice the distance of what the first muzzle flash was. So there we go. See how big it is? The first frame of smoke, roughly twice the length of the gun. And then now third frame, it's 3 times the length of the gun. Like see how big it gets, how fast? It's very light also, which is worth noting. It's a very clean burning gun. It's actually a second burst right there now. That's traveled this far in one frame, didn't even see the flash. And that force of the smoke traveling that far is what makes guns feel powerful in film. That's why fake muzzle flashes usually look like crap, is because they don't get the smoke right. Because you need to imply that there's something inside that gun that has expanded faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah.
So there's some great smoke reference right there. You know, it expands a little bit different rate here. It's like here, then here, then here, then here. It's all about how it spits that smoke out. But that's the other thing, like if somebody's shooting next to something, adding a little bit of that dust flying off the thing is great. But the lighting also really adds a lot. Yeah, you can really see how much it lights up the scene there.
That's a real muzzle flash?
It's a real muzzle flash. Roughly the size of the gun. Everybody's like, no way, that's too big. It's like, no, it's not. People also get shutter speed wrong. If there's a lot of motion blur, make sure the edge of your muzzle flash is fuzzy. If it's really, really sharp, maybe try to pull it in a little bit. But for the most part, fuzzy looks okay. You don't want blown out muzzle flashes when you're filming with sunlight because you're already exposed for sunlight. So your muzzle flashes are going to be softer, a little bit more transparent, and more colored. Because you're basically, it's like exposing for fire.
Yeah.
Not having every muzzle flash be a full muzzle flash also makes things look more real. And like sometimes you have one frame where it's a full muzzle flash, and in the next frame, you're getting just like the little bits of like fire, like right at the tip of the muzzle flash. Like you want to capture a little bit of that chaos when you're compositing muzzle flashes, where not every frame is a perfect muzzle flash.
Right, because it's like the firing rate of guns doesn't necessarily match up with the frame rate of video.
Yep, exactly. Boom!
Yeah. Wait.
That's so much bigger than the gun itself.
That's real. It looks like a effects element, but it's real. Blank firing guns have bigger muzzle flashes than real guns because there's no bullet.
What would you recommend for smoke elements?
Like the motion of this, pretty good for a muzzle flash smoke, right? You know, it comes up pretty fast. Like if your muzzle flash is like this big, you know, that works about. But you have to keep in mind your scale. A lot of people will composite these wrong. You know, shot this far, so they make the gun this big, you know, but no, like a person is like this tall, this size of a muzzle flash. Like the gun's like this big, that much smoke. So it's kind of low res for how big it is, but usually they're really transparent, so it doesn't really matter. That's a real Uzi right there, firing real muzzle flashes.
And he was just firing it one-handed? Like a real one?
Yeah. Once again, there's no, oh, here's some real good sparks. These are all real sparks. I think the thing that spark stock footage, especially like CG sparks, is they never make the little burst at the end. When the spark burns out and the little like glowing pellet pops, like how you get the little like fuzzy bursts on the edge of sparks.
Yeah.
And so all like sparks have that feeling where it's a straight line where it pops. And the CG sparks never get that right because they never make their particles pop into more particles in a subframe animation. That's not Sylvester Stallone's stunt double, by the way. It's just a paintball.
So what they're doing for those sparks is they're actually filling paintballs with zirconium,
Yeah.
which when it hits stuff will spark. So they're literally shooting paintball spark things that create real sparks.
That's so dope.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Does the same shot?
Same special.
Same special.
That wasn't real?
Dude, I love how that shit kicks up off the ground there.
That was just,
Boom!
oh yeah.
Got exploded.
All that light wrap and glow and reflections.
You know, see a little bit of gunpowder coming out? Yeah. Muzzle flashes are dirty, you know? So you want to kind of like make it dirty and not too clean. So make good muzzle flashes. People don't do the research. It's really easy. Like, you can go to YouTube and you type in gun and you'll find muzzle flash reference.